One of the things I love about One Rental at a Time is that we get amazing experts that come back and give us time each and every week. And because we have that ability, they also are sharing on the ground information. We're going to be able to look at Seattle, aka King County, and see what happened in June thanks to Beth Traverso. How you doing, Beth?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Mike. Thank you so much for having me back here. I always love chatting with you and connecting
Yeah.
with everybody out there one rental at a time.
I remember last year, it might have been this month, it may have been next month, when we were looking at just some absurd numbers about King
Yes.
County, right? I think it was 112% of list price was the what
Yeah.
stuff sold at. So it feels like we got to pay for that sin. And I'm curious what the numbers look like this month.
Yeah. So, it's really interesting. This was the month that I predicted that the year-over-year gap in our area would start to close.
Okay,
And we'll see. Let's take a look and
let's
see.
take a look. Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll do a little screen share here for those of us who like to nerd out with the
Mhm.
spreadsheets. We can take a look here. Can you see that okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
great. So, this might look like a bunch of stuff that's hard to really decipher, but down here at the bottom is all of King County.
Hmm?
And so you can see this, our median sale price. And so there's about 2.2 million people in King County, and it's Seattle and all the suburbs around Seattle. So
Okay.
this June we had a median sale price of 935. Last June it was 938.
Oh my
So I'm going
goodness.
to call that pretty much a wash.
Yeah.
We still have just over 1 month of inventory. That has not changed in, I don't know, at least 3-4 months. And another thing that I thought was
Wow.
interesting is the east side where I am, that's this right here. Um, this has been 1,450,000 for I went back and looked. It's been 1,450,000 for about the last 4 months. So on the east side where I am, which is the more tech heavy area, I mean, all of King County is pretty tech heavy, but that area in particular has been relatively unchanged. But the thing that has changed is the median price last year. So like you were saying, we had this about 4 month period where prices just exploded and went insane, where we had the most intense bidding wars I've ever seen in my decades of doing this. And that the average on the east side, the average the median sale price was 119% of the list price, so even higher on the east side. So there was even more reconciliation to be made there. And it was right around June, and especially July last year, that we saw the brakes just slammed on.
Right.
So it was an interesting time, a lot of turmoil.
Well, let me kind of dig into these
Turmoil
numbers.
this year.
I want
Sorry.
to dig into these a little bit. I also want to give credit to Northwest Multiple
Yes.
Listing Service.
Thank you
They
for
are
that
the data
reminder.
source. Yes.
Northwest Multiple Listing Service provided this data, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, you guys are rock stars. Thank you for doing this for us every month. You are amazing. Northwest Multiple Listing Service. I want to go left to right on this because I think what is happening in King County, aka Seattle, is probably happening in a lot of major metros. In that first one, new listings, can you
Yes.
believe you're down 33%
Yeah.
in new listings? That is wild.
Yes. And then for total active, so this is my little buy box right here, 540.
Yeah.
57% of total listings
You're
down.
oh,
I had to do a triple check on that, Mike, because I knew it was low, but that surprised even me to see it.
and again,
I don't,
this is
yeah.
June. No, this is May. No, this is June
This
data.
is
We're in July.
June data.
So for June, we basically had 6% mortgage rates the whole month.
Mm-hmm.
Your buy box is down 58, 57% in
Yeah.
inventory at
Mm-hmm.
6% mortgage rates. That is wild to think about.
So it's been interesting out there, because what do buyers do if there's nothing? They either have to expand their area or just go do something else for summer, which in Seattle area, that's what people do a lot of the time. And you can see if you go over here to the months of inventory, it's 0.85 month inventory there. It's also like among the lowest inventory around.
Wow.
So what is that? A little over 3 weeks of inventory.
Mhm.
So, um, so that just illustrates what we've been talking about here.
Yeah. So again, new listings are down 30%, active inventory is down 30%. Pendings, darn near a wash. So you're still getting stuff at least agreed.
Yeah. So
Closed
what is
are
coming on the
down.
market is going off really quickly, is what that's
E-
telling me. It comes on and goes off.
Exactly. Closed are down 25%. So okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, you're right. That's basically a push on median price for
It'll be
year on
interesting to see
year.
next month if we might be a little bit positive. I still think we're going to end the year a little bit positive, like we've
Oh, I
talked
think the
about for a
country
while
will.
now.
Yeah. I think the numbers, Seattle, this was the month that was crazy. It gets better from here, right? Your
Mm-hmm.
compares get better from here. And if we are truly operating in an environment with less supply, economics 101 is pretty clear. You take the supply curve down 33% and the demand curve is down 8%.
Yeah.
Guess what happens? It is that simple.
Yes. And what we're seeing too is the buyers that are buying now were not, by and large, in the market last year. They may have heard stories about that, but they don't have any
Baggage.
expectations, or it's not hitting them the same because their projected payment didn't go through the roof.
Yeah,
So, and also if people feel like there's a falling knife, people just run to the sidelines. And that's what
exactly.
we saw last summer. So
Yeah,
now it
that's
feels
just,
like that it's not happening. Although it's interesting, when the news articles come out for the local real estate market, it's like down, down, down. And what I'm seeing is it's been relatively steady, and even like the median sale prices in 2023 has been creeping up. But it's down year over year because we had that insanity that happened in the first part of 2022 that we're going up against year over year. So I think it's really important that people are mindful of that, to know that you need to look at what's happening, not just year over year, but month to month.
Mhm.
Or in my case, I see changes even week to week.
Wow.
So um I do believe, yeah. So next month I think will be a little bit positive once we get July data.
Mhm.
I'm not seeing much in the way of price reductions out there because of just lack of inventory. You
Yeah,
still have to
why
price it
would somebody
right.
have a price reduction? You've got 1 month of supply. I mean,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and summer always has been a little bit of a sleepy time for us here because the weather gets nice and people
Mhm.
want to be outside. And there's a lot of traveling going on this year too. So
Yeah,
SeaTac Airport has been just a mess with
yeah.
record breaking lines, and it's just been very hard for people to travel, but they're all doing it. So people are getting out of Dodge. I think there's some good opportunities there, even though these numbers don't show that it's like not necessarily bargain hunting season, but there's opportunities out there for buyers that are in the market right now. There's still some decent deals to be had out there. You just have to be really diligent and still check your buy box every day.
Mhm.
Things pop up, and sometimes when people are distracted, we talked about this last week, sometimes when people are distracted, that's a good opportunity to jump in. If people are just taking a break because there's nothing for sale and they want to go travel and you're looking, you can find a so in our area, a lot of listings will do an offer review date, but not all. So if somebody says, hey, we're reviewing offers as they come in, it's just to just get in there as quickly as you can with your offer.
Yeah, the other thing I remember us talking about last week, and it might have been the week before, is there was really a big hole in your market. You had kind of the low end manufactured home, nothing in the middle, and then kind of luxury stuff.
Yeah.
Again, because you look every day, is that still happening or what's going on there?
Yeah, there was like one that came on in the middle there, so there's one now.
One, you're up an infinite amount.
Yeah, I'm doing my best to change that in my little way that I can, bringing
Right.
some inventory on. But I expect it's going to be busy. And so, what I'm advising my sellers right now is we are doing the offer review date and sticking with it, because if you're the only show in town, let's
Mhm.
maximize that. You still have to do it right. I don't want people to think that you can just throw it out there and overprice it and not prepare it and expect the best results. You still have to, the fundamentals still matter, always matter.
Well, so June was roughly 6% mortgage rates for the entire month. We're now in the month of July, at least, roughly 2 weeks in. 7% is now the going rate for most mortgages. Have you seen a change from 6 to 7, or is that not meaningful enough to slow down demand?
I haven't seen a change.
Wow.
So that doesn't mean that there won't be one that appears later, but I'm not seeing it at this point.
Yeah, and I think it was to your point earlier. What the reason the market slammed last year is when you go from 3 to 6, that's 100%, right? You go from being approved to not approved on a loan. You go from 6.5 to 7, probably doesn't change the approved. Not it'll change at the margins, sure, but it's not that gigantic move. So I think
Yeah.
now that this is our third trip to 7, it just doesn't have the impact anymore. We need
No,
8,
it's kind of
eight and a
old
half.
news. It's kind
Yeah,
of old news. I mean, if like we talked about, I think last week, if it went to 8, then that would
maybe.
be
Yeah. That'd be a new
notable.
number, right? That'd be a new
Yeah.
number.
I'm hoping it doesn't go there, but if it does, we adjust. That's the thing. Is like people are always buying and selling.
I guess
As
the I
buyers
guess
and
the
sellers, we just need to adjust to what the market is showing us.
yeah, and I don't mean to age you in this question. It's not my intention, but you've been doing this a long time.
Yes, I've been doing it since I've been selling real estate since 1998. So I'm
So
one of
let's call that a
those.
decade and a half,
Yeah,
right? Two
well,
and a half
two and a
decades.
half decades.
Yeah, two and a half, just two and a half.
Yeah.
Um, can you remember a market where inventory was the problem?
Um, so I'm in a market where low inventory is pretty normal.
Okay.
Um, for various reasons. You know, like new construction isn't really a thing here, and other
Okay.
things have always made it low.
Okay.
But what I saw, and actually when I look at their numbers in 2022, believe it or not, our inventory was even lower. So you have 3% 3% interest rates, more or less,
Mhm.
and even lower inventory. Well, that's how you get 112 to
Yeah.
119 over list.
Yeah.
But other than that, in the last couple of years, that I have not seen it as low as that ever. I mean, I thought I saw low inventory, but I just didn't really know how low it could go. So
Yeah. So the biggest
yeah.
question I keep asking myself, and again, Seattle is your market, not mine, is what, if anything, unlocks supply, right? How do we go from total active listings of 2,181 to, I don't know, 4,000, 4,500? Any ideas what
So there's a
might
couple
unlock
different
supply?
things that could do that. I'm gonna stop the share here.
Sure.
There's a couple different things that could do that. There's the interest rates could go down, but then that would bring more listings on the market, but then the buyers would come and take them off.
Mhm.
So the other thing would be if interest rates go up and these houses stop selling and inventory starts piling up. That's what
Right.
we've seen in the past. That's what we saw last second half of last year.
Mhm.
And the last time I saw it was 2019, where it started to really pile up. We had our highest inventory in the last 10 years was in summer of 2019.
Okay.
And what happened in summer of 2019 was rates had gone higher, which at that time was, I think, 5-ish.
Mhm.
And buyers just were kind of meh.
Yeah.
It wasn't any kind of panic or anything. In fact, in retrospect, I remember 2019. I loved that market. I remember saying to some of my team members that 2019 felt like the most perfectly balanced market that I could remember,
Mm.
because it felt like if you were a seller, you had a good chance of getting a good offer quickly. And if you're a buyer, you had a good chance of getting a good offer accepted relatively easily without having to compete and try again and again and again. It seemed like it was fairly equal as far as the buyer and seller and the advantages of each, so I really enjoyed that.
Right.
Um, and then 2020 happened, and then the Fed broke housing, I think I heard, and here we
So
are.
some smart guy said that. Yeah.
Some smart guys did some things, and then, here we are.
There you go.
So, but as far as like what would, yeah,
Yeah, so you
I
got
would,
so really when you think about supply and demand, I think you're right. I think on the demand side, in order to have this is just in order to have inventory build, you need to reduce demand. How do you do that? You raise rates, right? That's
yeah,
the easiest lever. On the supply side, I again think you're right. Higher rates doesn't bring supply. The only thing I think that brings supply, at least quickly, is low rates. But you're right. Doesn't low rates become self-defeating because demand goes up
yes,
also? It's
yeah,
just a mess. I think we need higher rates for longer just so the housing market could start to breathe, and we can get
Yeah,
back, we can get off the 1.1 month supply that you've had for seemingly 2 years.
I know. And the other thing is our population is growing again. There was news about that too. So it's like, as long as that happens in the Seattle, I think that's why Seattle is always going to be a high appreciation market, at least as far as I can see, because we have geographic barriers. We have water everywhere, mountains everywhere, restriction. You can't only go so far. There's no place to expand into that hasn't already been fully developed.
Right.
Builders have no place to build unless they're tearing down and doing infill. We will start to see more DADUs and ADUs, like detached ADUs and accessory dwelling units will start to pop up. But those are still extremely expensive to build, and they're not cheap to buy. Like, people are buying these little ADUs for 800 plus in Seattle, where they're just like a little apartment basically in the alley, you know. So, but that's what a lot of investors are doing, is exactly that in our area. But and the zoning too. The zoning is very restrictive, where they don't allow development. There's a lot of green space that's set aside forever, and you're not going to be able to build there. So I think we have the strong economy and the restrictions on building, the zoning. I think it's just going to continue like it has been. You know, it might not, the extremes might start to abate a little bit, but I think long term it's going to
Yeah.
continue as it always has. You know, we've always kind of paralleled San Francisco area, Bay Area a little bit. It just feels to me like in the last 10 years or so, I've seen that gap narrow a bit, where it used to be like we were 10 years behind the Bay Area. Now it feels like we're closer.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to be San Francisco today. They're in a world of hurt.
No.
Yeah. Well, Beth, if somebody wanted to buy or sell, or better yet, get a reference or a referral from a top 1% agent, because folks, birds of a feather flock together. If you want a top 1% agent in your market, I suggest going to Beth Traverso. How would they reach out to you?
Right. So I'm easy to find at BethTraversoGroup.com, or you can find me on social media and reach out to me there.
There you go. Thank you
Beth
so much.
Traverso. Thanks.